Our shared failures have continued, and our citizens are paying the price. We need a new way of thinking on climate, on inequality, on health. Because the way we're doing things just isn't working well enough. Too often, concerted action is blocked. The needs of our citizens are denied as a result of gridlock at decision-making bodies. And why? Because there are few consequences for countries that ignore international rules, for regimes that think might makes right. Few consequences for places where opposition figures are being poisoned while cyber tools and disinformation are being used to destabilize democracies. Few consequences when innocent citizens are arbitrarily detained and fundamental freedoms are repressed, when a plane of civilians is shot from the sky, when women's rights are not treated as human rights, when no one has any rights at all. We are in deadlock. The international approach we've relied on since the second half of the 20th century was built on an understanding that countries would work together. But now those same countries are looking inward and are divided. We need to recognize where we are. The system is broken. The world is in crisis. And things are about to get much worse unless we change. Right now, we have a chance, not a big chance, but a chance to shift course, to realize that the only way through this is together. Putting some people ahead of others does not work. A healthier, cleaner, more equal future cannot be the privilege of a lucky few. It must be the right of us all.
A real and constructive global cooperation is the only way to move forward. But who are we to ask for that? Canada is not a country which can bring much pressure to bear in these major international issues. Like so many others, we are subject to the whims of the superpowers. But as Canadians, we know that we are not alone.
As Canadians, a trading nation where we trace our origins to every corner of the planet, we know that we are in this together. And I know other countries, your countries, see this too. Instead of hunkering down and hoping that we come out the other side okay, let's remember that we're all in this together. Instead of crossing our fingers and hoping that the big powers will figure this out, let's look at what we can do to make a difference together. Let's use our shared power, not just to get a vaccine, but to get it out to everyone. Let us be inspired by our citizens' call to restore the global economy while we tackle climate change. In other words, let's not wait for someone else to act. Let's do it ourselves. Each one of us here in these United Nations, each one of us uniting around a shared future. Canada has a long history in peacekeeping, and we will continue to step up and continue to move the dial on lasting peace by empowering women. Canada has always supported the work of agencies like UNICEF, the World Food Programme, and the UNHCR. Not only will we keep supporting these efforts, we'll keep increasing our international assistance budget every year. There's still so much more to be done.
In the four corners of the planet, children are wearing masks to go to school or are not going to school at all. Older people are dying. Demonstrators are being killed. The sea levels are rising and the forests are burning. Those who think only of themselves are continuing to exacerbate inequalities and conflicts. Now is the time for us, as the United Nations, to join forces and do what we were created to do: assure peace and security and avoid global crises. Today we are engaged in a combat unlike others, a combat against an invisible virus. At the same time, we are fighting against the consequences of our own actions, which have caused the carbon levels in the atmosphere to reach unsustainable levels.
Everywhere around the world, people are becoming mindful of this reality. They're refusing to accept inequality. They're refusing to close their eyes to the peril we're facing. Our citizens will no longer shrug off as someone else's problem a failing status quo. And that's a good thing, because there is the path forward. After a wildfire rips through a forest, life adjusts and begins anew. After an earthquake hits a city, people work together and rebuild. As we face these layers of crises, this is what we must do. We must understand our opportunities and our responsibilities to take real action together, to protect each other, to support each other. If we meet this moment, if we rise to this challenge, I know that, like our grandparents did 70 years ago, we will lay the foundations of a better world.